Hi guys, welcome to Cooking with AD. This week we're going to be making a spring favorite. It is going to be vegan pot pie. So a lot of you guys probably grew up eating this very down home type comfort food chicken pot pie. So this is the exact same thing, it's just the vegan version. So the great thing about this recipe is that if you're not vegan or vegetarian, it's very easy to just throw in some chicken. So feel free to go ahead and make this recipe your own in any way. It's very adaptable. So for our ingredients today, we're going to start with store-bought pie crust. So you guys know I love to bake. I love trying new things, trying out all different types of baking techniques and skills. However, pie crust is not my thing. I've tried a million different recipes on how to make it. If it's your thing and you've had success with it, please make your own. However, I buy mine. So the important thing to look for when you're buying a store-bought pie crust, especially if you're vegan or vegetarian, is that it's not made with lard. Most pie crust of major brands are made with lard, so you're probably gonna have to look. I usually have to go to a grocery store that I don't shop at a lot because they have a brand of pie crust that doesn't have lard in it. And of course, just like any other type of processed food that you buy, I talk about this all the time on my Instagram stories. You want to make sure that your food has the least possible number of ingredients. So look for a pie crust that has between 3 to 7 ingredients, not 12 to 15 ingredients. So that's our first ingredient. Our next ingredient is going to be a bag of frozen mixed vegetables. These are organic and from Aldi. You guys know I love to shop at Aldi, so organic mixed veggies. We have a small bag of organic potatoes. These are small potatoes.
Did you need that salt?
I mean, whether I need...
I'm just talking about for today.
No, but...
Okay.
Our next ingredient is going to be some potatoes. This is just a bag of organic, small, honey gold, bite-sized potatoes. I also got these from Aldi. Any type of potatoes will work. This is just what I usually buy. The most important ingredients in your pot pie are your fresh herbs. I always make my pot pie with fresh herbs. If you can't find or you don't have, I suppose dried will do, but you will have to use different measurements. So just do it to taste. All right, so our first and most important fresh herb in a pot pie is fresh dill. This gives you that springy, fresh, homemade flavor that you're looking for, so fresh dill. This is something you don't use a lot, so something you're probably gonna have to buy specifically for this dish. Thyme and cilantro, so those are our fresh herbs. All of our other ingredients are just normal preparation things. We've got an onion, some garlic, salt and pepper, a little bit of garlic powder, olive oil for sauteing, some vegetable broth to make our gravy, you know, that very traditional pot pie type gravy sauce, some almond milk also to give it that creamy look and flavor. And then of course we're gonna sprinkle a little bit of flour as we create that sauce in order to thicken. So I'll show that to you guys when it's time. So if you wanna follow along and learn how to make a great vegan pot pie, go ahead. All right guys, so we're just going to start with a little overview of our ingredients again. As you can see, as much as possible, I try to buy organic ingredients. I've talked about this a lot on my stories, why we've made this decision for our family, but organic basically means that it's grown without extra pesticides, synthetic pesticides, and that it's also GMO free, so it's not genetically modified. And you know, if as much as you can, if this is something that's important, you try and find affordable ingredients that are organic. My favorite, of course, as you guys know, is Aldi. They have a lot of great options. All right, so we're gonna start by just prepping our onions and garlic, the base of any good savory dish. And you know, there's no special technique to this. I'm just trying to cut my onions and then my garlic into equal sized pieces. And what that does is it allows your food, your veggies, to cook evenly, so you're not getting any big pieces of raw onion in the middle of your pot pie. Next, we're going to go ahead and open up these potatoes. I think I said before, these are gold potatoes, and they are organic from Aldi, and I just find that gold potatoes have a bit of a buttery flavor and just a really smooth texture, and so I think they lend themselves really well to dishes where you're going to be eating like a chunk of potato. So mashed potatoes, I think you can be a little bit more loose about what type of potatoes, but in the end, any potatoes will work. So I'm just going to once again cut these into pretty even chunks. Wash them real quick, which we did not get on camera, but of course always make sure you wash your fresh fruits and veggies. And I'm going to go ahead and put my onions and garlic in so that they can get nice and golden brown. You want to make sure that you're closely monitoring these so that they don't burn, because it's going to give a really acrid, scorched flavor to your food. So that you just want them to kind of get golden brown, and usually when you can start to smell them, that is the sign that they are pretty much ready to add whatever else you're going to add. Season these real quick with some salt. That gorgeous golden flavor. My cute little helper here. Now I'm going to start building the base for my gravy, that thick creamy sauce that is so classic in pot pie. This is 1/3 cup of flour that I'm putting in here. And you're just gonna mix this around until your flour is kind of toasted. You want your flour to get that golden brown look as well. And it's gonna look kind of strange, you know, it's definitely gonna look really dry and clumpy, but that's okay, we're building the base of our gravy. Now we're gonna go in with 2 cups of veggie stock. And I think I was still using the 1/3 cup measure from the flour, so that's why I'm adding so many, but this is a total of 2 cups. And we're just gonna stir, stir, stir. This takes a little patience until that flour is incorporated. It's gonna look a little lumpy at first, but just keep stirring, it's gonna be fine. And then we're gonna go in with 1 cup of milk, whatever plant-based milk, it doesn't matter, almond, soy, oat, whatever you wanna use. Just make sure that it is unsweetened, okay? You have to look a little bit for unsweetened plant milks. But A, it cuts down sugar, and B, you don't want that sweet flavor, also original, not vanilla, in your savory foods. I'm just adding in that bag of frozen mixed veggies I showed you guys earlier. You can see it's kind of coming together into what we know to be pot pie filling. So we're just gonna keep stirring. The flour is gonna continue to thicken this up as it heats up and as we keep stirring it, so it is gonna get thick. And then going in with our potatoes. So our potatoes are still raw, but they're gonna cook a little now in our sauce, and then they're gonna finish cooking in the oven. Keep seasoning throughout. This is one of the best things I think about vegan cooking, is that you can really taste as you go and add to seasoning, because you don't have any animal products that you know you shouldn't be tasting. And of course our fresh herbs. So this is about 2 tablespoons each of dill, thyme, and cilantro. If you're using dried have a more potent flavor, so maybe cut down to 1 tablespoon of each. But I use fresh, I think that's the best for a springy dish. So 2 tablespoons, a nice good chunk of fresh herbs. And you can see what that flour did, my mixture is nice and thick. So the next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and fill our pie crust. You can see my bottom crust here, I did par bake it. Par baking is just when you stick your pie crust into the oven, 350 degrees for maybe 5 minutes, just to get it started with the cooking process, so that to ensure that it finishes cooking and you don't end up with a doughy, wet, soggy bottom crust. No one wants that. So this is just a little trick. Your pie may be fine if you don't do it, but I like to ensure my bottom crust is well cooked when I'm done, so I pretty much always par bake my bottom crust. Now, I'm gonna show you guys the trick for how I turn the second crust, because usually pie crusts come in packs of 2, into a top crust, because I already told you guys I do not make homemade pie crust, I just refuse. So I gently first defrost it, and then tap it out of its aluminum tin onto a piece of cling wrap. Try not to rip it or tear it in any way. Once I get it all nice and out of the pan, I'm just going to take my finger and smooth out all those ridges, and especially that middle circle in the middle, to kind of get rid of the look of a bottom crust. If your fingers are sticky or you're like tearing up pieces of pie crust as you go, just wet your fingers with a little bit of water or milk. So tap, 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 tap. Once it gets all nice and flat like this, You're going to lift up the piece of saran wrap and use it to gently lower that crust onto your pie. And voila, look, no one can tell that this was a store-bought bottom crust. All right, it looks great. It's nice and smooth because you tapped out all the ridges and indentations. You're just gonna take your thumb and go around and seal it. Don't worry if you have a little excess on one edge, we're gonna cut that off anyway. Just make sure that when you lay it, you have plenty around to seal the edges. So you can see how gorgeous this looks. I'm gonna take my knife and just trim off all that extra. If you wanna be fancy, you can take that extra pie crust and make cute designs and stick it on top of your pie, but I'm not doing that tonight. And then the last step is called venting your pie. So whether you're making a fruit pie or a pot pie, any pie that has this top crust like this, you want to cut 4 nice big vents so that the steam can escape from your pie as it cooks. And there we go, gorgeous, ready to go into the oven. All right, I'm putting this in a 400-degree oven for 40 minutes. And you can always tell when your pie is done by that golden top crust. Looks beautiful, perfect. It's not burnt around the edges. We caught it just in time. And then you want to let your pie, pot pie or any pie with like a creamy custard filling, set up a little bit. So you want it to let it cool for a minimum of 15 to 20 minutes before you cut into it so that all your filling doesn't just rush into that hole in your pie tin. So after about 15 or 20 minutes, you can go ahead and cut into that. And there we go, you have a one-pan dinner, essentially. You've got your veggies, you've got your starch. You could serve this with a really nice, simple green salad, and dinner is done. It's not a quick dinner. It does take about 40 minutes to bake and then maybe 20 minutes to pull together, but it is one pan. Very few dishes, so it definitely is a weeknight dinner if you plan ahead a little bit, and definitely something easy for the weekends. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. I want to hear about your ideas for videos in the future. Thanks for watching.